I like trains.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this very special end of the year video. I hope you all are having a great day today, as well as having a very happy holiday, whatever you celebrate around this time of year. And as you can tell by the title, this is a very special end of the year video. This is a year in review video, officially, and it has to do with 2021 for many obvious reasons. Like it or not, in 2 days, it will actually be 2022. Today is December 30th. I cannot believe I'm saying this, but that's how it is. I mean, the years can fly by. That's how it goes. But 2021 has been a crazy year for many reasons. Of course, with the pandemic, but that's not really going to be the focus in this video at all. I'm really going to focus about my year of 2021. 2021 was a pretty eventful year for me, as one of the biggest parts. There you can see I have my Santa hat on. One of the biggest parts for me was the transitioning from high school to college, and transitioning from living here at home to living at college and living on my own. Of course, I'm home for the winter break, as you guys know, but on January 17th, I'll be going back, which is in like 2 to 3 weeks at this point. So still got a little bit of time at home, so that's nice. 2021 has been a pretty crazy year for me. It was definitely not the easiest transition, but I can tell you that I can safely tell you that I did well with the transition. I did well in my first semester in college. I'm feeling good about life in general, and I was able to make that nice transition. And then the other part about 2021, which will be discussed in this video, is all the trains I caught. 2021 has been a crazy year rail fanning. I have caught so much crazy action, as you guys know. Well, some of you don't know about some of the stuff I've caught, but this video, of course, as you can tell by the title, will be my top 25 catches of this year, 2021. And I know that sounds like a lot, and I know this is a very long video, so bear with me. That's why I put chapters in this video, and other long videos. But yeah, I was going to do top 10 originally, but I looked at all the crazy trains I caught, and I'm like, how can I only do 10? I've caught so much crazy stuff that it would be stupid for me to not include more. So more is better, I guess. The more the merrier, right? This will be the top 25 catches of the year. And I do have a disclaimer, and I apologize. There are some videos, or some trains in this video that I have not posted yet on my channel. So there will be some spoilers on this compilation. And the reason is because I scheduled everything in advance, and a good amount, a decent amount, definitely under 50%, but I'd say about 20-ish% of the videos you'll see in this compilation, maybe like 15-20% roughly, will be videos that I won't be posting until 2022, or at least won't be up for the general public until 2022. I mean, some of them are literally going to be posted in January. Some of them will be like you'll see in like February. Like January, February is when you'll see the other ones. But yeah, this video does have a few does feature a few trains that I have yet to post on this channel. So like I said, there will be spoilers, but it's only going to be snippets of each train, and that includes everything. So it's not going to be the whole video. It's just going to be like about a minute, maybe a minute or less, clips of the rare stuff that I caught. So yeah, so there's a little bit of a spoiler. You guys will see some trains in this compilation that you have not seen yet, and you will see in the future. So I kind of spoiled it a little bit, but I mean, I look at it, I'm like, well, I technically posted those trains in 2021, so why would I post them, and why would I carry them on to 2022? No. I caught them all in 2021, therefore, they're going in this compilation. So that's how I'm doing it, and One more thing before I get into the video. Look who has come to join me. My cat, Disney. He's really happy today. Just chilling. Yeah, he's very cute. But yeah, I'm very excited. I hope you guys are too. And I think this intro is enough. It's been a crazy year in 2021. I can't believe it's almost over. 2022 is literally right around the corner. So all I can say to this is sit back, relax, make yourself comfortable. Make some popcorn, make some other snacks, maybe even make a dinner or something, or make any meal, maybe even grab a hot chocolate or something. Just make yourself comfortable as you sit back, relax, and enjoy this really long and really special compilation of my top 25 catches of 2021. I'm going to go for now, and thank you guys so much for watching. And here it is. Without further ado, here is the compilation, and I hope you enjoy the video. Have a great day, everyone. Coming in at number 25, we actually have a tie between two trains. The first one being CSX K676 on June 10th, as I caught this train at the Newport Road crossing on the Old Main Line in Woodbine, Maryland. This K676 had a trio of Canadian National EMDs, a pair of SD70MACes, and then an SD70M-2. This was definitely not something you see often. All foreign power and all EMDs. Because it is very rare to see all foreign power EMDs on the same train in the coverage area, I decided to see these locomotives again on K677. This time, the CN SD70M-2 was leading the MTK train, and this K677 did not take the Old Main Line. It took the Capital and Metropolitan subdivisions, so I ended up going to Point of Rocks, Maryland at the Canal Road crossing to catch this train heading back west. K5LLA.
I think this train is pretty cool.
At number 24, we've got Amtrak 30, the Capital Limited, on June 3rd. On this day, I went for the Capital Limited PO30 in Brunswick, Maryland, for this very reason, which is pictured right about here. Right there, and trailing on this PO30 is Amtrak 514, a GE B32-8WH. There are not many Dash 8s left on Amtrak, so I was really glad to see this in person. Oh yeah. Love that K5LA. At number 23, we also have Amtrak 30, this time on July 16th at Point of Rocks, Maryland. On this day, PO30's lead P42DC number 96 broke down on the sand patch grade, So CSX had to come to the rescue to put one of their own locomotives up front. CSX 5257, a GE ES40DC, was the Amtrak savior on this day, as it ended up leading this PO30 all the way to DC. This was really rare to see a CSX locomotive lead Amtrak, as the last time this happened on the Capital Limited was in 2017. At number 22, we've got CSX X372, an extra Q372, on March 10th, 2021, at the Woodbine Road crossing on the Old Main Line in Woodbine, Maryland. This X372, which actually got held up in Brunswick the entire day because they were doing track work on the Old Main Line, had a lot of interesting stuff on it. As you just saw, there was an SD70MAC rebuild, number 4540, trailing. There was also a CSX Auto Parts boxcar right there with New York Central reporting marks. That was certainly not the only fallen flag that was on this train, as there's another one, a rare Seaboard Coastline Family Lines System boxcar. Definitely not something you see that often on CSX train. Now, what really made this train special was one of the mid-DPUs pictured right here. This is CSX 1707, an EMD SD40E3, or an ECO SD40. I believe there's only 13 of them in service on CSX. Now, Norfolk Southern has rebuilt many of their SD40-2s to SD40Es to make them more environmentally friendly. Now, of course, 1707 was not the only mid-DPU on this train, as CSX 3123 was the other DPU. Another thing on this train that was really special was right here, towards the end of it, a very interesting maintenance of way vehicle. Now, I'm not exactly sure why this maintenance of way vehicle was on this train, but I still found it cool nonetheless. Finally, the very last car in this X372 was a rare ex-Amtrak car, which apparently is very rare per a few experts. So all in all, I was really happy to catch this X372 here in Woodbine, Maryland. it goes. Number 21 also features two trains. The first one being CSX G124 on June 21st at the Brunswick MARC station in Brunswick, Maryland. On this G124 was a pair of BNSF EMD SD70ACes. Leading was number 9037, and as the back DPU was number 9288. Now, this train also had a CSX EMD SD70MAC rebuild, number 4554, pictured right there, trailing second. So all three locomotives in this consist were EMDs, and that is not something you see very often on the grain trains that pass through the area. Now, what happened was, for this train, was that it was originally going to pass in the daylight, but in Martinsburg, this train actually stalled out because 9288 failed. So this ended up being a night run, and it passed through Brunswick in a thunderstorm. ACE. This train actually did, by the way, it did stop in around Martinsburg on milepost 102 because this back DPU right here, this BNSF 9288, actually failed. So it needed helpers for a little bit. But yeah, there it is. And there goes G124. Heading into the yard. The other train on number 21 on this list is CSX B709, a local ash train. 2 days after G124 arrived in Brunswick, CSX put the two BNSF locomotives on the local ash train. Now this happens very often as CSX uses whatever power is available to put on the Brunswick locals. Now on this day, this B709 stopped at Point of Rocks, which as you can see is where we caught this train, for a good 90 minutes because there was a loaded coal train N744 that needed to spin its power around because it was going to take the Metropolitan and RF&P subdivisions, and the RF&P requires cab signaling. The original leader on this train did not have that. Right there is a picture of me right next to BNSF 9288, one of my favorite pictures of all time. There is N744 on the left, as CSX 531, the original leader, did not have cab signaling, so they had to spin the power around. I decided to head down to Canal Road to catch B709 depart, but I was quickly fooled as I did not make it to the crossing. As I was approaching the crossing, I suddenly heard the E-bell of BNSF 9288, meaning that it was heading right towards us. So I couldn't make it to the crossing, but I sprinted all the way past the fence to at least get a half-decent picture and video of the train returning. The video ended up being subpar, but at least I got really good pictures of the train sitting at Point of Rocks. Woo! There we go. Just got it. It fooled us. Coming in at number 20, we once again have two trains tied, and the first two trains that I would consider spoilers in this compilation. The first train at number 20 is Amtrak 42, the Pennsylvanian, on the NS Pittsburgh line, crossing the Hickory Road crossing in Derry, Pennsylvania. This Amtrak train had locomotive number 108, the Phase 6 50th year anniversary Heritage Unit, leading. This was one of the brand new Heritage Units on Amtrak, and the first Amtrak Heritage Unit I ever saw, so I was really glad to see this. The other train at number 20 passed through 2 weeks later while I was on Thanksgiving break. This is Amtrak 30, the Capital Limited, heading eastbound through Germantown, Maryland on the CSX Metropolitan Subdivision with another 50th year anniversary Heritage Unit leading. This time, it was Amtrak Locomotive 100, which was the Midnight Blue Heritage Unit. This is my personal favorite out of the 50-year anniversary Heritage Units, and I was really glad to see it lead the Capital Limited. Speaking of heritage units, at number 19, we've got Norfolk Southern 746, a loaded coal train on June 3rd, passing through the Charlestown Diamond in Ranson, West Virginia on the Norfolk Southern H line. Now, this was the same day that I caught Amtrak 30 with that Dash 8 trailing on it, as immediately after catching that train, I headed to the H line to catch this train. This loaded coal train, 746, had Norfolk Southern 1072, the Illinois Terminal Heritage Unit, leading. This was the first and only Norfolk Southern Heritage Unit I had seen lead out of the 20, so I was really happy to see this. At number 18, we once again have a tie for 2 trains. The first one was CSX Q372 on May 10th, as I caught this train on the Old Main Line subdivision in Sykesville, Maryland. Now, around this time in 2021, CSX was reactivating some of its old locomotives from storage because they had a power shortage. One of the types of locomotives that they were bringing back were Dash 8s. This Q372 had a quartet of Dash 8s trailing on it, being brought right out of storage. CSX 7791, CSX 7809, CSX 7894, and CSX 7793. This was quite a cool sight to see and well worth going for, especially because these locomotives were literally being brought right out of Cumberland and right out of storage to be reactivated. The other train on number 18 was also CSX Q372 on the very next day. The previous Q372, of course, had a quartet of Dash 8s, and this Q372 had a pair of Dash 9s on it, again being reactivated from storage. Now, I went a little further east on the Old Main Line in the town of Woodstock, Maryland, at the Woodstock Road crossing to catch this Q372. The Dash 9 locomotives on this Q372 were CSX 9019 and CSX 9013, both still holding their YN2 paint scheme. This was really nice to see, and again, awesome to see old locomotives being reactivated on CSX. Ooh, echo. Speaking of Dash 8s and Dash 9s, at number 17 we got CSX Q214 on September the 20th at the Covert Road Crossing on the Newcastle subdivision in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Now, this is one of the spoiler trains in this compilation, so you guys will see the full version of this video in the near future. Anyways, this train, CSX Q214, a loaded autorack train, took me completely by surprise with its power. As it approached me on the Newcastle sub, I heard a third-generation K5HL from the distance, and I assumed it was like a Tier 4 GEVO or something like that. But to my surprise, it was not. Leading this Q214 was CSX 7848, a GE C40-8W, and behind it, pictured right there, was CSX 9016, a GE C40-9W. I was really happy that I caught this train, again, by complete chance, as I had no idea it was coming. Especially because both locomotives on this train were in storage just a few months prior. So this train definitely deserved the spot on this list. Looks like a Dash 8 actually. And a Dash 9 trailing. Coming in at number 16, we've got CSX W003 on February 10th, heading westbound down the Old Main Line subdivision, crossing Old Mill Bottom Road in Mount Airy, Maryland. W003 is a geometry train, which is a fancier way to do a track inspection. Leading this W003 was CSX EMD GP40WH-2 number 9969, which was MARC 69. So, this was definitely a locomotive you don't see often, especially down the Old Main Line. So I was very glad to see this. Now, I filmed this the day before I got my new phone, so the quality in this video won't be as good, so I apologize. Thankfully, most of the trains I caught in this compilation were after I got my new phone, so this is just an exception. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video of number 16 on this list, CSX W003, heading west on the Old Main Line with CSX 9969 in the lead. Yep, here it comes. Coming in at number 15, we've got CSX W053 on July 13th, eastbound down the Old Main Line subdivision in Sykesville, Maryland. W053 is a weed sprayer train that sprays fertilizer alongside the tracks to make sure that the weeds don't grow too tall over the tracks and everything else. Leading this W053, pictured right here, is CSX 7868, a GE C40-8W. This was the first CSX-8 I ever saw lead a train, and as you can tell, it has interesting number boards on the side. I believe they are ex-Union Pacific number boards, so that was cool. Also on this W053, which was the last car on this train, is pictured right here, a very rare Seaboard Coastline Family Lines System boxcar. Of course, in front of that were a few tankers and the weed sprayer car. This was definitely a really cool work train to catch, especially with the Dash 8 liter and the rare fallen flag boxcar on the rear. System, SCL, there it goes. At number 14, we've got CSX Q372 on May 30th, eastbound down the old Main Line subdivision, crossing the Woodbine Road crossing in Woodbine, Maryland. This Q372 had a ton of rarities on it. First of all, pictured there is CSX 9012, a GE C40-9W, which was just pulled from storage on this train, and it was actually active. It was not dead in tow. What was also crazy on this Q372 were cars such as these. Very old hopper cars. A few of them, just like this one right here, was a C&O coal hopper, and there's another one on this train. These are pre-Chessie coal hoppers, so they're extremely old and extremely rare to see. They were likely pulled out of Cumberland as well. Right there is another one of the really old hopper cars on this Q372, as while this car says CSX on it, it was actually confirmed that this was a B&O coal hopper. Here's another one of the rare hoppers on this Q372, an old red Conrail / New York Central coal hopper. While these fallen flags were really cool, the other part that made this train special was right here. This Q372, along with the really old cars and the Dash 9, had a ton of military equipment right after the mid-DPUs. There was a ton of military equipment on this train, so much that it ended up that this train was over 170 cars and nearly 800 axles, marking it one of the longest Q372s I ever caught as well. Now, the majority of the military equipment on this Q372 were Hummers and trucks owned by the U.S. Army. The other military equipment on this Q372 was ammunition, as pictured right here. As you can see, those boxes full of ammunition read U.S. Army System. I definitely found this Q372 quite cool. From the reactivated Dash 9 to the pre-Chessie and other really old coal hoppers, and to the military equipment, particularly U.S. Army, on this manifest train. All these were firsts for me, and this marked the coolest Q372 I have ever caught, and the coolest manifest train I've caught in general, and number 14 on this list.
Okay, here we go. Military gentlemen.
There's the Dash 9. C&O. Another C&O. Those old cars right there. B&O. Whoa, that's old. There's Conrail New York Central. Look at these old CSX full hoppers. Very old. DPU. And now look at this. Maybe there is later. Oh yeah. Look at all that. Crazy. Ooh, that looks old. There's more. Wow. Oh my gosh, yep, U.S. Army, look at that. That is so cool. Wow. Crazy. There it is. At number 13, we once again have a tie between two trains. This time, both with the same ID, D023, and both at the same spot, the Morgan Road crossing on the Old Main Line subdivision in Woodbine, Maryland. The first time I caught D023 was on February 9th, ironically the day before I caught W003, the geometry train with 9969 leading. The geometry train likely ran because of this ballast train, as it was testing out the new polished rails. Anyways, this D023 on February 9th had a lone CSX GE ES40DC number 5363 leading. The train paused right before the hood siding as it had an approach, as the crew walked out of the train briefly. When they walked back in, D023 proceeded eastbound into the hood siding where it would drop off its ballast. Now, the reason why this train is so far up in this compilation is because of the several fallen flags from the ballast hoppers, from the B&O to CNO to Seaboard to New York Central and many others. This was quite a cool catch and definitely something you do not see every day. Now remember, this was only the first time I caught D023, as you guys will see that I caught this exact train 6 months later. Oh. B&O. Conrail. That is cool. I hear the GE chugging behind me. Oh, chassis system. Yeah, sorry I had to film it in the car. Just let my phone drained battery because of how cold it was. SCL. Oh my gosh. I don't think I could have asked for a better 200th train, guys. Oh my goodness. I see the end of the train. Another chassis. Oh, it's more than chassis. There's a ton. Almost all these are fallen flags. Conrail and another Conrail. There it goes. Yep, it's D023, I think. Let me get out. Going in the siding. For now. The second time I caught D023 was exactly 6 months later on August the 9th, and again at Morgan Road. However, this D023 had a few differences. First, it had a pair of GE ES40-4AHs up front, number 729 and number 3141. Also, this D023 ended up going straight through the hood siding with a high clear, as it ended up dumping off its ballast at the Avalon siding, the siding furthest east on the Old Main Line subdivision and very close to St. Denis. Now, like the first D023, this train had a ton of rare fallen flags as well, such as B&O, Clinchfield, Conrail, Chassis System, Seaboard, New York Central, CNO, Seaboard Coastline, and Louisville National. Again, this was a crazy train, and I was so glad I caught it, and it's definitely deserving to be on this list.
Oh my god! It does have a light malfunction. Oh, it's going down.
Seaboard! Louisville National! SCL! B&O! Seaboard! CNO! New York Central! Seaboard! SCL! Seaboard again! Chassis System! Conrail! B&O! SCL! Conrail again! Chassis System B&O! Conrail! Clinchfield! B&O! And another CNO, and there it goes. At number 12, we've got yet another spoiler, CSX Q369, on September 26th at the Covert Road Crossing on the Newcastle subdivision in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Trailing on this Q369 was a quartet of City Rail GE ES40-4ACes. Now, City Rail, which is a leasing company owned by the Bank City, actually went out of business in 2017. After this happened, most of City Rail's locomotives actually went to a few Class 1 railroads, mainly Canadian National and BNSF. However, these 4 City Rail locomotives on this Q369 were still in their City Rail paint scheme and still said City Rail and CREX reporting marks on the side of the locomotives, so they have been completely unpatched. Now, these locomotives were all built in 2015, so they are still fairly new, so who knows what's going to happen to them in the future. Nevertheless, it was really cool to see these 4 City Rail locomotives on this manifest train, and definitely enough to deserve a spot on this list. Also note to self the trailing GP38-2 number 2652 on this train, which is ex-Clinchfield. Of course, this is really rare, but the main reason why this train is in this compilation is because of the 4 City Rail locomotives. So, I hope you guys enjoy number 12 on this list. At number 11, we've got CSX V124 on August 31st, again at the Covert Road Crossing on the Newcastle subdivision. Of course, you guys recently saw this video of mine, as this V124 had BNSF 9802 in the lead. 9802 is one of BNSF's EMD SD70MACs in the executive Burlington Northern paint scheme. Also note to self that 9802, as well as the other executive MACs, are ex-Burlington Northern. While BNSF still owns and uses many of their executive MACs, it is very rare to see one in the coverage area, so I was very glad to see this train, and I could not resist putting it in this compilation. Yeah, this is V124, absolutely. At number 10, we've got MARC P856 on May 14th on the CSX Capital subdivision at the Dorsey MARC station in Dorsey, Maryland. Leading this P856 was MARC locomotive number 68, an EMD GP40WH-2. 68 is the last of the GP40WH-2s on MARC, as well as the last MARC locomotive with the original paint scheme. Now, originally, this P856 had an MP36 leading, as MARC 68 was trailing second, but the MP36 actually died, so 68 had to lead the train all the way to Baltimore. So we got really lucky to see it lead. Now, I'm very glad I saw MARC 68 lead, as it is exceptionally rare, but this is another MARC locomotive I would love to see lead one day. MARC 4145, ex-New Jersey Transit. Here it is, pictured sitting at the East Yard in Frederick, Maryland. Hopefully I see 4145 lead one day, but at least I've seen 68 lead. And speaking of 68, here's the video of it passing Dorsey Station. There it is. And a charger. Here it comes. Woo! That was close, guys. Literally just right after Q371 passed. At number 9, we've got CSX Loaded Coal Train N789 on May 13th, actually the day before we caught MARC 68 leading P856. I caught this N789 at the Morgan Road crossing on the old main line in Woodbine, Maryland. Leading this N789 was CSX 4758, an EMD SD70MAC with flared radiators and non-rebuilt. 4758 is one of only 3 active EMD SD70MACs on CSX that are non-rebuilds. Now, 4758 leading this train was the best part, but the other cool part were the 2 trailing locomotives behind the second unit on this train, which was CSX 5117, a GE CW44AH. Trailing dead in tow on this loaded coal was a pair of EMD Jeeps on it. The first one was CSX 2634, an EMD GP38-2. And the second one, which is pictured right here, is CSX 6519, an EMD GP40-3. So a very nice consist on a loaded coal train, an SD70MAC with flared radiators, a CW44AH GE, and then a pair of Jeeps. So, on almost entirely EMD consist on a loaded coal train, definitely something rare and definitely something you don't see these days, especially because the leader was a flared SD70MAC. Because of all the rarity on this train, I couldn't help but put it at number 9 on this list. Yep. Ooh, an EMDs! Wow! More EMDs. At number 8, we've got CSX K638 tied down on April 7th on the CSX Old Main Line subdivision on the Avalon siding in Arbutus, Maryland. This K638 was a rerouted loaded ethanol train from Proviso, Indiana to Curtis Bay Yard in Baltimore, Maryland. The power on this train was a pair of Union Pacific GEs. Union Pacific 6634 leading and 7384 behind it. Union Pacific power in the coverage area is exceptionally rare these days, so the fact that I was able to see it was really cool, even though it was just sitting and not moving. I hope you all enjoy this rare footage of Union Pacific power parked on the old main line. But take a look at the power we've got right behind us. Look at that. Union Pacific power right here. Anyway, we've got CSX K638, at least the power of the train, sitting right here in front of us, tied down in Avalon. We've got Union Pacific 6634, and behind it, we've got Union Pacific 7384. This locomotive right here is a GE AC40-4CW, and the one behind it is a GE AC40-5CCTE. So yeah, we've got Union Pacific power right here, everybody. At number 7, we've got another tie between two trains. The first one was CSX local manifest train D791 on June 21st as it arrived back in Brunswick, Maryland. Now this D791 had a trio of EMDs on it. First, a slug set with CSX 6943 leading and 2218 with a tree on the side of it trailing. But what made this catch really interesting was the third locomotive on this consist, which is pictured right here. CSX 2756, an EMD GP38-2 in rare YN2 paint scheme. I say rare because 2756 is one of just two CSX EMD Jeeps in the YN2 paint scheme, the other being 4419. So this was exceptionally rare and well deserving to be in this compilation. The other train tied for 7th in this compilation is CSX Q372 on December 11th. Yes, this is another one of the spoilers. This Q372 had a very nice consist. Leading was CSX 542, a GE AC40-4CW, which was recently given DPU capability. Trailing second was a brand new, shiny CM44 rebuild CSX 7246. But the reason why this is tied with D791 is because of that locomotive right there, CSX 8482, an EMD SD40-2 ex-Pennsylvania Railroad, which is already rare within itself, but also in YN2 paint scheme. 8482 is one of 3 EMD SD40-2s on CSX, still in YN2 paint scheme, the other two being 8247 and 8451. Now, Old Main Productions was lucky enough to catch 8247 before catching this 8482 with me.
Howdy there, guys. This is Old Main Productions, and I hope you guys enjoy those videos when they're out. They should be out fairly soon. Before the Old Main guy posts this catch of the YN2 SD40-2, both of mine should be out, so stay tuned.
Thank you, Old Main Productions. Anyways, here's my catch of Q372 with CSX 8482, an EMD SD40-2 and YN2 paint trailing, and tied for number 7 on this list. At number 6, we've got, once again, another spoiler. CSX Q370 on October 25th at the Covert Road Crossing on the Newcastle subdivision in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. This Q370, which is a manifest train, and Q369's counterpart, had quite the classic consist. Leading this Q370, and picture right there, is CSX 8400 and EMD SD40-2 ex Western Maryland. My first ever SD40-2 I ever saw lead, and the fact that it was ex Western Maryland made it extra cool. And trailing second on this Q370, picture right there, is CSX 8536 and EMD SD50-3. This is one of just a select few of SD50 locomotives on CSX that are still active, as most of them got retired due to precision scheduled railroading. So 8536 is one of CSX's few ESR survivors. This was definitely an awesome consist on this train. 2 standard cab EMDs leading a manifest, an ex-Western Maryland SD40-2 leading, and an ex-Seaboard EMD SD50-3 trailing. This was quite an awesome lash-up, and definitely something I would consider old school. All in all, it was well deserving of number 6 on this list. Well, we have finally reached the top 5 in this compilation. Coming in at number 5 is CSX K677 on January 18th at the Watersville Road crossing on the Old Main Line subdivision in Mount Airy, Maryland. This K677, which is an empty ethanol train, was led by a pair of Canadian National GEs. The reason why this is so high on this list is because of the lead locomotive, which is pictured right here. This is Canadian National 2156, a GE C40-8W. Now, this was in January, so it was well before CSX reactivated their Dash 8s and Dash 9s. So this was likely the first Dash 8 to lead a train on the Old Main Line in at least a year or two. Also, CN 2156 is an ex-ATSF/Santa Fe war bonnet. It is ex-ATSF 842, which was also a Dash 8. So this was incredibly rare to see an ex-war bonnet lead a train on the Old Main Line subdivision. Of course, the second locomotive on this K677 was CN 2320, a GE ES40-DC. So it was cool to see nothing but CN power, but of course, with 2156 leading, that made it extra special. Now also note the very quiet Leslie RS3L train horn on 2156, as this is one of only 2 RS3L horns I have ever heard in my life. Now because 2156 is so old, who knows what the future looks like for it. So this might have been the very last time a CN-8 led a train down the Old Main Line subdivision, and in the coverage area in general. So I was exceptionally glad to see this locomotive lead this empty ethanol train, as it marked number 5 in this compilation. Coming in at number 4, we actually have 4 different trains and 2 different locomotives featured. Featured in number 4 is 2 of CSX's 3 Pride in Service locomotives, all dedicated to the many brave men and women who serve our country. The first Pride in Service locomotive I caught was CSX 3194, which is the Spirit of Law Enforcement. I first caught 3194 on June 28th on the CSX West/Lurgan subdivision, leading intermodal train Q016. Now, 3194 is the newest out of the 3 Pride in Service locomotives, as the other 2 became special units in 2019. 3194 became a special unit in 2020. So anyways, here is the first time I caught CSX 3194 and any Pride in Service locomotive on CSX, as it led intermodal Q016 through Charlton, Maryland. Exactly 1 week later, CSX 3194 led the same exact train, Q016, through the coverage area. I decided to go for it again, and once again on the West/Lurgan subdivision, but this time a little bit further west. I caught it at the crossing before Dam Number 5 Road Crossing, which ended up being Ashton Road Crossing in Ashton, Maryland. Now, special thanks to Caleb Welch, aka RailFanCaleb611 on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to his channel if you haven't yet, as he provided the music through his speakers playing the song Bad Boys to commemorate CSX 3194 and all of law enforcement. I definitely felt like this was a cool addition to this video. Now, the reason why Caleb and I decided that Bad Boys was the most appropriate song to play as this train passed is because that was the same song that was playing when 3194 was first revealed as the spirit of law enforcement. So I definitely found that to be extra cool. The music. The other of the 3 Pride in Service locomotives I have seen is CSX 911, which is the spirit of first responders. The first time I saw 911 was on July 30th at Newport Road Crossing on the old Main Line subdivision in Woodbine, Maryland. CSX 911 was trailing on loaded coal train N769 that passed through on this day. It was originally leading, but in Cumberland, CSX put locomotive 5238, a GE ES40DC, up front. While it was unfortunate that 911 didn't end up leading this loaded coal train, it was still cool to see it nonetheless. Now, before June and July, I would have never thought that I would even catch any of the 3 Pride in Service locomotives on CSX. In fact, all 3 locomotives were actually in storage in Waycross, Georgia before February of 2021, when they were all put on CSX Q410 and Q409. Of course, I missed all of them. Anyways, here is my catch of CSX 911 trailing on loaded coal train N769 heading eastbound down the old Main Line subdivision. This was definitely cool to see. The last of 4 trains in number 4 in this compilation is indeed a spoiler. On December 11th, I finally got an opportunity to see CSX 911 lead a train. On this day, CSX 911 was leading intermodal train IO33, a holiday intermodal train. I will get into what a holiday intermodal train is when I post this video. Anyways, I caught this train at the Dorsey MARC station on the Capitol Subdivision in Dorsey, Maryland. I was very glad that 911 was leading this train, as now it marked that I had seen 2 out of the 3 Pride and Service locomotives not only in general, but leading. All I need now is CSX 1776, which sadly I didn't end up seeing in 2021. Hopefully 2022 is a different story. Anyways, a final side note is that the engineer on this IO33 and in the cab of 911 is what many call the happy engineer, as he gave us a fantastic horn show. Now, one thing to mention about the horn of CSX 911 is that it is not its original horn when it was painted in the first responders scheme. Originally, 911 as a Pride and Service engine had a Leslie RS5T train horn, just like 3194. However, 911 recently got its horn replaced with a narrow font K5LA. Now, I kind of like the K5LA on 911, but I definitely prefer its RS5T. Nevertheless, I was really happy to see it lead, as now I've seen 2 out of the 3 Pride and Service locomotives leading on CSX. And because of that, these catches of both 3194 and 911 mark this number 4 in this compilation. At number 3, we've got CSX G124's power working the Brunswick Yard on April 30th in Brunswick, Maryland. A few days prior, there was a CSX loaded grain train G124 that arrived in Brunswick with quite a rare lash-up. Leading G124 and pictured on the left is Canadian Pacific 8606, a GE AC44CW. But what really made this catch rare was the second locomotive pictured on the right, BC Rail 4619, a GE C40-8M. 4619 is one of the original BC Rail locomotives, which are extremely rare to come by these days, especially in the coverage area. I would honestly say that seeing a BC Rail locomotive is equivalent to seeing a Santa Fe war bonnet. Now, most BC Rail locomotives have either been bought out, retired, or even scrapped. So the fact that we were able to see 4619 in action as late as we did in 2021 was very special. Now, on this day, on April 30th, we saw the 2 locomotives, BC Rail 4619 and Canadian Pacific 8606, doing the yard job in Brunswick. Now, I'm not sure what ID the Brunswick yard job is, but if any of you watching this know, then please leave a comment in the comment section. Anyways, because of how increasingly rare it is becoming to see a BC Rail locomotive, especially in the coverage area, this may or may not have been the very last time a BC Rail locomotive visited the state of Maryland and the Brunswick Yard. So I was very glad to see this, and in my opinion, this locomotive's rarity is the main reason why this was number 3 in this compilation. But look what we got back there. BC Rail power. BC Rail and a Canadian Pacific AC44. These 2 locomotives came on G124. So yes, BC Rail power. Very, very, very rare. It's an original BC Rail GE C40-8M. So yeah. So yeah, this train is E750. It actually has an SD70MAC on it, an original Mac, a flared SD70MAC. It is extremely windy. But yeah, that is a BC rail. There it is, right there. And there goes the empty coal. Coming in at number 2, we have perhaps the biggest spoiler of them all in this compilation. On September 20th, I caught CSX Manifest train Q370 on the CSX Newcastle subdivision at the Covert Road crossing in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. On this Q370 was arguably the craziest lash-up I have ever seen in my entire life on a train. Now, mind you, this is a manifest train, a train that doesn't typically have foreign power, so this was insane. Leading this Q370 and pictured right here is BNSF 4141, a GE C44-9W in H2 paint. But what was really crazy was this locomotive trailing second. Union Pacific 1988, an EMD SD70ACe, and the KD Heritage Unit. So a Union Pacific Heritage Unit on a CSX Manifest train heading to Cumberland, passing through the coverage area. It is exceptionally rare to see a Union Pacific Heritage Unit in the general area, so that added to this crazy catch. The other 2 locomotives on this train were also pretty cool. They were both ex-CSX leasers owned by the company LTEX. It was actually a slug set. First, LTEX 2256, as if you look really closely at the cab, you can tell that it looks a little bit different. That's because 2256 is an ex-EMD GP30 and officially a road slug, so that's pretty cool. And then trailing behind 2256 is LTEX 6443 and EMD GP40-2. Now again, the locomotives in the slug set are both ex-CSX, but they are technically not owned by CSX anymore, so none of the locomotives on this train were CSX engines. So this was technically an all-foreign power catch. It is exceptionally rare to see BNSF, Union Pacific, and leasers on the same train, especially if it's not an ethanol train or a grain train. I would honestly say that this train's lash-up is only one a railfan could dream of these days. So I was very, very happy to see this train, and like I said, it was the best lash-up I had ever seen on any train of all time, and deserving of number 2 on this list. I wasn't sure. They didn't take the leasers off after all. Before we get to number 1 in this compilation, here are 5 honorable mentions. First, we've got CSX Q214 on November the 13th, again at the Covert Road crossing on the Newcastle subdivision in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Leading this Q214, a loaded autorack train, is CSX 8904, pictured right here. 8904 is one of just 10 EMD ST70AHs, Tier 4 SD70ACes on CSX. And this was the first ST70AH I had ever seen lead. Back in June, I saw CSX 8909 as a mid-DPU on Q372, but 8904 was the first ST70AH I saw lead, so I definitely found this cool. The second honorable mention on this list is CSX Q372 on September 12th at the Covert Road Crossing on the Newcastle subdivision in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. I posted this video of Q332 just a few days ago on my channel, so it is one of the newest videos on my channel. Anyways, leading this Q332 is CSX 4067, an EMD SD40-3. This was the first EMD non-SD70 locomotive I had ever seen lead a train that was not a local. Now, I know that sounds very specific, but that's about as short and concise as I can explain that. It was pretty cool to see an SD40-3 lead a manifest train, as it was well deserving of an honorable mention in this video. Coming in at honorable mention number 3, we've got CSX W047 on May 7th at the Woodbine Road Crossing on the Old Main Line subdivision in Woodbine, Maryland. W047 is a work train, a maintenance of way train, which carried maintenance of way vehicles and gondolas. Leading this work train W047 is CSX 4528, an EMD SD70MAC rebuild. Definitely not something you see every day. Towards the front of W047 was a series of maintenance of way vehicles, such as excavators, backhoe loaders, and tractor trailers. Now, this work train W047 was actually heading to Philadelphia to do track work on the Philly sub. Now, another thing to mention about the flatbeds carrying the maintenance of way equipment on this W047 is that a few of them were fallen flags. The two fallen flags that were on this work train were Seaboard and New York Central. We saw those reporting marks on both the flatbeds of this train and on the gondolas towards the end, as you guys are about to see. So this W047 was a pretty cool train, especially to catch on the Old Main Line subdivision. Maintenance of way vehicles, fallen flags, and an EMD leader. This was quite a nice catch, and definitely deserving of at least an honorable mention in this compilation. And now, you're about to see the video of W047 flying through downtown Woodbine. Definitely a Mac. Definitely a Mac.
Can't really do a special zoom out because of thing, but oh my gosh, yeah, that's a Mac. You can tell by the center headlights up top.
Yep. It's loud. Maintenance of way. New York Central. Oh, gondolas. New York Central again. I don't know what that was. Oh, there it is. That's it. Very short. The fourth honorable mention in this compilation is CSX W049 on May 14th, exactly a week later. I caught this W049, which, once again, is a maintenance of way work train, on the Old Main Line subdivision at the Reichsford Road Crossing in Iamsville, Maryland. Leading this W049 was once again an SD70MAC rebuild. This time it was CSX 4570. Now, this W049 did not have any fallen flags on it, but it had very interesting maintenance of way equipment. Just like W047, this work train was also headed to the Philadelphia subdivision to do maintenance work. As a result, the Philadelphia subdivision had a curfew where trains could only pass at a certain time of the day, and it actually ended up impacting trains Q372 and Q371 as they ended up passing in the evening instead of the morning. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video of the other maintenance of way work train in this compilation, CSX W049 heading eastbound down the old main line.
That's it. It is here.
Oh, that's it. Huh. Well, no fallen flags, but that was still pretty cool. Before I get into the fifth and final honorable mention in this video, I want to give a huge thank you to everyone who is watching this video. If you've watched this entire video all the way to this point, wow. I very much appreciate that. Thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. If not, if you're someone who skips around, then honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. I just appreciate anyone who watches this video. So anyways, back to the compilation. The fifth and final honorable mention is not about what you see, but instead what you hear on trains. The first train featured here is CSX N789, a loaded coal train, on June 24th at the Main Street crossing in Sykesville, Maryland on the old Main Line subdivision. Leading this N789 is CSX 5288, a GE ES40DC. Now, you're probably thinking there's absolutely nothing special about 5288. It's just a standard GE ES40DC. Well, what's special about 5288 is that it has a one-of-a-kind horn on CSX, a rare Nathan narrow font K5HLB horn. It is one of the deepest sounding train horns on any CSX locomotive and one of my personal favorites, and I was very glad to catch it leading this loaded coal train as it echoed through downtown Sykesville, Maryland. The other train featured in honorable mention number 5 is CSX N785, again a loaded coal train, this time on October 11th at the Woodbine Road crossing on the old Main Line subdivision in Woodbine, Maryland. The leader of this loaded coal train, N785, also had a distinct horn. It was CSX 969, a GE ES40-4AH. This locomotive, once again, has a one-of-a-kind horn, a Nathan hybrid third-generation K5HLA. Now, this horn is literally a cross between a K5LLA and a K5HL, so it definitely sounds really cool, and it is honestly one of my personal favorite train horns I have ever heard. Now, the other CSX locomotive I have seen with a one-of-a-kind horn is CSX 559. I caught 559 lead an empty coal train E780 back in November of 2020. 559 has a rare Leslie RS3K horn. Now, if I caught that train in 2021 instead of 2020, it would definitely be in this compilation and part of this 5th honorable mention. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy the very distinct sounding hybrid K5HLA horn on CSX 969 as it leads N785 through Woodbine. $31.64, $32.59. Last but not least, at number 1, we've got Norfolk Southern 955 on May 25th on the Norfolk Southern Hagerstown line at the Taylor's Landing Road crossing in Sharpsburg, Maryland. This train, NS 955, was a ferry move train as it was transporting the Norfolk and Western J-Class 484 steam locomotive number 611 on its way to Strasburg, Maryland to do summer excursions. This was extremely special to see a steam locomotive on a Class 1 rail line that is very active. I don't think that I will ever see something like this ever again, and the moment I caught this train, I knew that this would be a very tough train to beat when it comes to rare stuff that I've seen. Well, as you guys can see, nothing has beat this catch, and honestly, I don't think anything will. This was definitely one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite catches of all time. It was really special to see a steam locomotive head down the H line, especially the 611, as it is one of my favorite steam locomotives, but certainly not my only favorite. Now, another thing that's really special about the 611 is that it is the last remaining J-Class steam locomotive on the Norfolk and Western, as the rest have either been retired or scrapped. Now, I do have one final thing to note about this train, which is actually pretty ironic. Leading this ferry move train was NS 1206 and EMD SD70ACe. Of course, it had a very loud 3rd generation K5 LLA horn, and despite it being really loud, as the train was approaching, and 1206 and the 611 were honking their horn and blowing their whistles simultaneously, we actually could hear 611's whistle overpowering the K5 LLA. This is just one of many examples as to why steam locomotives are forever mighty engines. Anyways, here is the video of NS 955 passing through Sharpsburg, Maryland with the N&W 611 on its way to Strasburg, Pennsylvania at the Strasburg Railroad. I hope you all enjoy this. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. Now, I know this video was really long. As I mentioned, it was well over an hour. But if you skipped most of the video to this point, I can tell you right now you've missed a lot. There was honestly never a dull moment in this video, as it had nothing but train content, non-stop train content, and really good train content, as it was the top 25 catches of the year. So anyways, thank you guys again so much for watching this video. I hope again you guys are having a great holiday. And, yeah, well, this is the last you guys will see of me in 2021. And, yeah, this Saturday, remember, will be another model train video. And it will be the first video I post in 2022. So, stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much again. And, well, I'm going to end it. This is the Old Man Guy signing off. Have a great day, everyone.